Good afternoon or good morning. I'm Rogelio Estrada, back at it again on the Young Entrepreneurs Podcast. Here with my co-host Stephen Marks. Stephen.
Hey guys, I'm Stephen Marks. This is the Young Entrepreneurs Podcast. So what we're going to be talking about today is a couple different topics. The big thing was victim mindset.
Yes, the what we have going on today in the wider economy or society as a whole, not as a whole, but here in the United States, with young people is you see it a lot in universities. It's people really just associating themselves with the idea of being a victim or being the person that is, targeted in the midst of everything going on, and that's not really the case for most people. It's really how you want to take your situation at hand and how you want to act on it, overcome it, or if you just want to stay in the same situation. It really is just mindset and how you want to move forward.
Yeah, so like my definition of a victim mindset is somebody that's always putting blame on others for their consequences to their actions.
Right.
Is kind of the way I view it. So, example, you're walking down the street and you wore flip-flops and your feet get wet because you stepped in a puddle.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's nature's fault for that puddle being there.
Yeah, for making it
wet. That's the city's fault for making a pothole.
Mm-hmm.
No, in reality, that is your fault for stepping in the puddle. That is your fault for wearing flip-flops.
Right.
And that's why your feet are wet.
Exactly.
So it's the same analogy towards business and towards life. Okay.
Yeah.
So like when you have people that are constantly attacking you, like, oh, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. In reality, when you did nothing wrong, it's that's playing victim mindset. There's people that are constantly coming after you.
Yeah, and to go back on what Steven just mentioned there, it's like, you yourself have the ability to proactively get up, not figuratively, but get up and, think through situations, evaluate situations, and really position yourself to a spot where it's easier to take that responsibility because the consequences of your actions, go better for you. Like, for example, in that hypothetical that Steven just gave us, a lot of people go about their day nowadays. It's like, oh, they see that the clouds are coming in outside, and they can feel the little breeze coming in. But what do? They decide to not do anything about it. They just still, I'm me, and that's that, and I'm going to go and do whatever I want, right? Mm-hmm. And that really just feeds even deeper into, that mindset of, oh, I can never do anything wrong. And that's why I'm the victim, because everything's happening to me.
And you're almost digging yourself, like, every time you do that, you're digging that pothole deeper. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is you're kind of it's consequences to your actions is the best way to put it. So, I can't wake up at 6 a.m. Like, that's just like something I can't do, whatever like that. Well, you're telling yourself you can't do it, so you're getting that mindset that you can't do it. Mm-hmm. But then you'll wake up at 6 a.m. like one day. Well, it's all about baby steps, okay? Like, what are you waking up at now? Like 11? All right. All right, we'll wake up at 10:30 one day. Wake up at 10. Then wake up at 9:30. Then you're realizing, man, it's really hard to wake up past 9:30, but I'm also going to bed at 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So you're like, okay, well, my sleep schedule is messed up. So now you got to look at it. You're like, well, I probably should go to bed around 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I can wake up at 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't realize that, okay, there's other underlying things that are leading towards my actions, but I'm just going to blame the guilt on I can't do it.
Right, because I am the victim is what we just said. But yeah, that's a great point. It's like, going back to what we said earlier, it's like you got to look at your situation and proactively want to change it. Mm-hmm. That sleep thing, you could blame it on, I can't get any sleep. I'm just so tired, or whatever the case may be. at the end of the day, you yourself are actively taking the sleep away from yourself and then reaping the negative consequences of waking up early. That's simply just you,
Yeah.
And as like Steven said, it's all about baby steps to really, implementing change.
I think the biggest realization too is realizing that you're the only person there that's going to look out for yourself. And that sounds super selfish and like super like messed up, but it's the truth.
Definitely.
You're the only person that's going to physically be able to make yourself wake up earlier. You're the only person that's going to be able to make yourself go to bed earlier. You're the only person that's going to make yourself go to the gym. You're the only person that's going to make yourself eat better. Do whatever it is, whatever your goals are, you're the only person that's going to be able to do it. Like, you're not going to have like Joe Schmo holding your hand the whole time.
No.
Your mom's not going to be there every single day to be like, honey, wake up.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that really kind of just shows like the big uptick that we've had in these past couple of years. Before the pandemic, you guys know, you never really saw any paid promotion for therapy sessions or going to like see a specialist for whatever the case may be. But like after these 2-3 years after the pandemic's like giving us a full cycle, it's like you're starting to see this stuff like every day now. Whoever you listen to, it's like everybody has a paid sponsorship from BetterHelp or whatever the service may be. It's like kind of plays hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, like I'm a huge mental health advocate. Like, I believe that is something that it's like you need to be mentally there before you're physically there.
Right.
And a lot of it too is like, I mean, like therapy is great. I like if somebody's
therapy.
If somebody's like struggling and stuff like that, they need therapy. Like it's just everybody does therapy. It's just it's like one of those natural things. But it's kind of like the reason that people are doing that now is because they've lost one thing in their life, and that was routine.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. We all need a routine, and we all need structure in our life. And I think a lot of people like don't think about that
until it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Like I know so many college students that go away to college and they're so depressed now because of X, Y, and Z. In reality, it's because they don't put structure in their life and they don't put a routine in. And it's like, that's the reason why you're depressed. That's the reason why you're sad, is because you're doing something like, it's exciting to do something different every day.
Right.
But you still need to have that morning routine. You still need to have that nighttime routine.
Yeah.
You still need to realize, like, hey, if I go out drinking this day of the week, I'm going to have to pay my actions and my consequences tomorrow.
Right.
It's the same thing, like, for everything. Like, there's a time to party, there's a time to play, and there's a time to actually be serious and, like, get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like what people realize is, like, they're like, oh, well, I didn't do that get stuff done part, so now I'm depressed that I didn't get stuff done. And it's just kind of like they're playing a victim to their assets, and they're like, oh, well, that's not my fault. Like, I'm in college. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm allowed to, like, I'm a party every night. I'm in college, it's whatever.
Yeah. And that pothole that we mentioned earlier is just gonna keep growing and growing and growing. And you can go to therapy as need be if you find yourself in a situation that you need it. Well, all power to you. Go ahead and seek that help. But, just by having that person there to listen to you and help you along, whatever emotional, mental health problem you might have, at the end of the day, it's accountability from yourself that's really going to, take what you learn in those therapy sessions or in those, help sessions. Nobody's going to leave that session with you and, like you said, hold your hand through, like, implementing those things. So that's really where you got to come in and hold yourself accountable, because it's really only you. And if you let that pothole get really, really big, it
gets harder and harder to get out.
Harder and harder to get out. That's right.
So that's exactly what it is. Like, that's what we're trying to get the point across here is of, like, you're the only person that's going to change where you're at this moment. So playing the whole victim mindset and blaming
other people,
blaming somebody else for where you're at is really not it. Like, the biggest thing is just learning to take accountability for your actions.
Yep.
The biggest thing is growing up, being responsible and being mature and realizing, hey, there's a reason why this did happen.
And why I'm in the space.
And why I'm in this space. Like in order to like for a therapist to properly help you, you need to realize that you need help.
Right.
In order for, you know, me to properly help you buy a home,
you gotta take the right steps.
Yeah, I have to take the right steps, but you need to actually be in the market to buy a home.
Right.
You know, it's the same thing. So if you want improvement in your life, you need to be in the market for improvement. You need to actually realize, hey, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to put a smile on my face. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to try to bring happiness in the room of where I'm at. I'm not going to mope around. I'm not going to be depressed. I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. And it is a lot harder than it is said done.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's all baby steps, okay? Like, don't be playing on and on about what, like Johnny called me ugly yesterday or whatever it is.
Right,
like, I'm gonna mope around all day and be like depressed about it because somebody decided to say something to me. But in reality, that person means absolutely nothing in my life.
Right.
Because if they want to put me down, then what's good to them?
Yeah.
Like, they're just insecure about something. They're just upset about something.
Dealing with their own problems.
That's their own victim mindset. They're putting blame on you for being a victim.
Right. Okay,
so don't play the same card. Be the bigger person.
Yeah.
Like,
and
get...
That's really, really, really huge there because, during high school, it's like the most minimal thing, like, said to you or done to you or, like, space that you go into, the littlest thing could, like, have you not talk to certain people for, like, weeks or months, all because, you took it personal or you took it in a way where, it didn't really have any significance. You took it to another level where it didn't need to be. And that goes back to what Steve was saying is, like, you got to, take the initiative to be positive, to not let these things, strike that deep of a chord within you, because then it backtracks. Like, it goes back into other things that you're already trying to do for yourself, and if you let that happen, it's those baby steps that get, like, just pushed away. So that, like, that goes back also to the baby step point. It's like, but you have to do the baby steps for it to actually provide some, results.
Mm-hmm. And you realize, like, results aren't instantaneous. Like, you're gonna be 2 steps forward and 3 steps back sometimes, and
constantly.
It's hard to, like, and that's how it relates into business too. That's, like, what we're trying to get across here is, like, when you guys are starting up your business, when you guys are starting up whatever it is, a side hustle, like, showing up with positivity every single day and showing up with a smile on your face and realizing, hey, I'm going to take 3 steps forward, take 7 steps back, but then tomorrow I'm going to take 40 leaps forward,
right,
and nothing back. And I think that's just, like, the hardest thing to get in your head is, every single no, you're closer to a yes.
Yeah.
Every single thing that happens that's bad, you're one more closer to a great thing. And you need to count on those great things to counteract the bad things.
Yeah.
Because too many people, like, rely on the bad things in life. They're like, oh, like, this happened to me, and this happened to me, and this happened to me. But in reality, too, though, all these great things happen to you at the same time. And people don't realize that, like count your blessings. Count the things that are positive in your life. Don't count the things that are negative. Count the things that are positive. And when you guys are starting out and building the structure for your business, count the positives. Okay? Hey, I got my website made today.
Yeah.
Hey, I got my first sale. Or, hey, I did this. Don't view it as, oh, man, it took me like 2.5 months to get my first sale and, whatever. It's going to take time. Like, things take time. And, like, just like all those baby steps, everything takes time with it. Solving that victim mentality, going into business with a positive mindset is really difficult. But the first thing to really start that business is not having that victim mentality of, I'm going to blame Joe for this, or I'm going to blame
right. It's
whoever.
Not my fault. Like, that whole "it's not my fault" thing. It's like, at the end of the day, you can only say that so many times before, like, you yourself accept it.
Consistency and accountability is way more effective than it is just taking, like, a stride and then stopping for a month and then taking a stride. Like when you go to the gym, like, you don't see results on day 1.
No.
Okay. But you go for 4 or 5 months and you look back at it consecutively 4 or 5 months, and off of it, you're like, damn, I did this.
I did this X amount of goals are achieved already.
And I've made sure to go every single day. So it's like, if I accomplish this in 3 months, like, it's like, it's not where I want to be, but you got to look at the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 6 months, you're going to be like, damn, I was all the way there at 3. I was only there at 3 months. Like, look at me now.
Right.
It's the same thing with business. It's like, dude, 3 months ago, I only had 2 sales. But dude, now I got like 20 sales a day. So like, what's going on? What's happening? What did I change? What did I realize?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because you had consecutive growth. You had the accountability. You woke up every single day. You did the actions that you were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't put blame on somebody else for those actions not getting done. And you're consistent consecutively.
And I can really speak to this myself with reselling and stuff, and like my side hustles, where it's like, when I first started out, everything came so easy because I didn't have any experience in it, and I was just like we were talking about, I was naive, and I took everything as it came, and I just went, and as soon as something bad happened, in grand scheme of things, this was like six years back, so that besides the point. I was taking things as they came, and doing things as I please, really, and not putting much thought or really technique behind any of it. So whenever something bad happened to me, I just sat there and took it like, oh, I don't know why this is happening, must be my fault, and as you grow as a business, you're going to learn that really everything is your fault. Really everything that you have control over, at the end of the day, is going to be your fault. Whatever happens. If you make 100 sales, that's your fault. You did that. That's you. But also, you spent 3-4 weeks and you didn't list a single product. That is also you. So yeah, that's like a big thing that like people that take on side hustles really struggle with. Speaking from my personal experience, it's like, some days you'll have those eBay sales where you sell an item that's, $300 and it was like all profit. And, it being a side hustle, you kind of take it and you say, hey, well, this is awesome. I made my sales for the week. Hooray, there's not much to it.
What other accountability are you going to hold to get more sales that week?
Exactly. That's what we want to like get across here today, is that it's not about that $300 sale. It really is about what are you learning from that sale to get more sales, or, to get a higher paying sale, stuff like that. And it's really, really important to, look within and really ask yourself these questions. Like, am I doing XYZ? What could I be doing with XYZ to, produce these results and stuff like that.
No, I see it all the time in my business too. It's like one of those things where it's like, I tell myself all the time, I'm going to make $100 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, I don't do that. And it's when I don't do that, I pay the consequences. It's like, well, why didn't I get a sale last month? Well, it's because I didn't do my dials. It's because I didn't have my numbers. It's because I didn't consecutively do stuff, and I didn't take accountability for my actions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm taking accountability. I'm really good at owning up to what I did wrong.
Yeah.
But it's really sometimes hard for me to like push forward to that level, and that's the big thing that we all need to focus on, is pushing forward and actually doing the actions.
Yeah.
Because like, again too, there's also the factor that you can have that victim mindset, but take accountability for yourself and realize, oh well, I did this wrong, but then you don't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just as bad as the victim mindset. So realizing that you got to take accountability and act upon it. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You got to act upon what you're working on. So it's like, okay, why did I get 3 sales last month? Because I made my $100 a week. Because I had my 60 conversations.
Right.
Because I did the things that I know that are income producing activities that are going to help my business.
Yeah.
Oh, but then the next month, well, then it's like, oh, well, I had 3 sales last month. I'm good. Like, I'm chilling.
Right.
No. Like, do the same exact thing you did and repeat it.
And learn from it. You know, learn to trim the, the big saying with like entrepreneurs is trimming the fat on your operations. It's like, learning what you do and making it almost formulaic, so and you start to cut out that guessing game that you're really in when you start off in like a lot of things, even with like with the rental property that we bought. A lot of the times when we got there to like do some of the renovations, it was like, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. But you get there and you're talking for hours. It's like nothing gets done, and it's like you gotta learn what works for you, how to make it formulaic, and learn how to trim the fat off of those processes, so that future you can take that built process, implement it, and still feel like they have time, still feel like they are able to manage maybe even another side hustle or another business venture, and really be able to grow like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a kind of like a hard thing for a lot of people to process. So,
hey, that's kind of what being a business owner is, though. It's like learning to take the initiative for yourself, because when you have a job, or when you're at school, or whatever the case may be, whatever organization or what you spend your time doing, a lot of the times it feels like you have to do all these things, or like quote unquote do your work, because you have that deadline there, or you have a due date, or something is gonna be given to a customer, or whatever the case may be. That you have those deadlines there, and that's really what's pushing you when you're not working for yourself. So that's what that's what you have to do when you work for yourself, is you have to go out and make those deadlines, make those goals, and ultimately go out there and crush it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's easy to work the 9 to 5, but it's not easy to work the 5 to 9.
Right.
And that's the big thing too, where it's like, as an entrepreneur, if you don't have a 9 to 5, a lot of us don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you're actually working that 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, not that 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day. So you need to realize, what can I do to fill my calendar in to be the most productive every single day? What are my actions? What are my goals going to be for the day? And what type of things am I going to do to hold myself accountable for this?
Right.
Like I give myself a little reward sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like my motivation. So it's like, oh, hey, like I want to go do this, or I want to go to I want to take this trip somewhere, but I'm not going to be able to take that trip somewhere unless I consecutively get 3 sales a month for 3 months.
Right.
Or like, I'm not going to be able to do this unless I do this. And you need to kind of just like have your why in your head of why you're doing it. And that's the big thing. It's like, for me, my motivation's cars and traveling. Like I love that.
Right.
Like there's a lot of cars I want
as well.
So it's like, okay, like I would love to go to Colorado 4 times a year, 5 times a year. I would love to go do this, whatever it is. Like I'd love to buy a Porsche right now, or like I'd love to go do these things. But the reason I'm not is because, again, the actions of my own, the consequences of my own actions.
Right.
It's because I didn't do my 3 sales. It's because I didn't do this and I didn't do that. So I'm not being consecutive with it. But you got to kind of keep telling yourself, like, hey, like this is why I do it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Right. And then, even like you said, a lot of us entrepreneurs, we fall into that, trap of treating ourselves, or, taking that time off and indulging in, moments that we ultimately shouldn't be. Like you mentioned, I know a lot of irresponsible business owners that, are in the position to buy a car, or in a position to buy whatever asset, or depreciating liability, whatever you want to, consider it, right? But, they go out, they crush it for a while, and then they're in the position to, splurge or indulge in a new luxury that they've never had, or, been able to afford. And then they go and buy it, or they go and indulge, and then, they spend their week, 2 weeks, playing with their new toy, and then they look on their business side of the aspect, or their business aspect of it, and it's like, they lost customers, or they lost whatever. It's like you can't wrap yourself up in these rewards, but you got to have that purpose, because that purpose is really what's going to guide you. Because if you're just in your head thinking, yep, I'm going to do, another popular side hustle here in the area, or like business, is landscaping. You know, you can go out and be a landscaper and make a bunch of money, and then, you know, quote unquote set up your business. Well, what does that matter if, like, you know, you make a bunch of money in 2-3 weeks, and then you splurge it on a brand new computer? What does that profit you? Obviously, it's going to be good for your business, but then there's that moment where it's either A, you got to double down with what you just did, or you're going to lose all that progress. You know, you're going to enjoy that computer for a week or 2 weeks, and then you're going to forget about your side hustle, and it's like you could have spent those 1 or 2 weeks working a little bit more on your side hustle and then enjoying even more your computer or whatever it may be.
Or oh no, I'm going to start another side hustle on my computer. And then you're just like, next thing you know, you have 40 different side hustles going on. You have no focus and no actual purpose with it. And like, I'm very bad at that.
Yeah, me too.
I've done a lot of side hustles, but I've never done commitment onto one side hustle. And that's the thing, is like a side hustle's meant to be a future business. And I think that's kind of like what we need to get in our head, is realize, hey, if I'm doing something, this is eventually something that I could do full time.
Right.
Okay. So, you know, like I'm painting cars or whatever I'm doing on you know, it's the side hustle. We'll take landscaping, for example. Okay. We'll do grass cutting. We'll make it easy. You know, you go out, you have a $50 push mower or whatever it is. You cut your neighbor's yard once a week. You make $20 off of it. Okay. Well, you know, I'm doing that. You know, then I'm buying my computer or whatever like that. And I'm not really focusing on growing that. Instead, you know, with that $50-$100 you made, you could have done flyers. You could have done marketing. You could have done something to get 3 yards to make, you know, $150 a week instead of $50 a week. Yep. Okay, well then what are you at now? Well, it's like, well, I'm making $150 a week. I save that up for a couple of weeks. I buy myself a zero turn. I'm more productive now. I can knock out those 3 yards in a quarter of the time. So now I'm making $150 in a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
But then you're also like, dude, well, if I can do that in a quarter of the time, why don't I pick up 4 times the amount of yards?
Right.
Okay, well, what's 150 times 4? You know, that's $600.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so you're looking at it and $600. You're looking at it, you're like, oh, now I'm making $600 for the same amount of time that I was making $150.
Right.
You know, so now you're growing that side hustle into towards a business, and you're like, okay, well, this is the realization that if I reinvest in myself and reinvest in my side hustle or my business, then it's going to grow. You know,
it's going to pay off even more.
And I'm not having that, you know, like again too, but it's like we were saying, it's so hard to get past that first step.
Right.
Because that first step is like a boulder. You know, it's like a huge boulder that you got to free climb, and like just to free climb that and have the accountability to do so is harder than like anything, because you get like 3/4 of the way up, and then you're like, ooh, there's a shiny rock.
There's a shiny rock,
right? You know, or like, oh, like, dude, there's free water down there. Like let me go get, you know, whatever it is.
Get some free water, right?
You know, so it's like hard to get up that initial boulder, but once you get up that initial boulder, you're like, dude, I'm on top of the mountain. What else can I do?
Now you have the ability to do whatever you want.
So then you're like, dude, I'm gonna make something so I can make steps. I can get up and down this boulder now.
Right.
Or I'm gonna do something so I can, you know, add another boulder on top of this boulder.
Right.
You know.
Or, you know, even thinking selfishly, maybe even bring people over the boulder. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But yeah. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you gotta have like that vision, because you're gonna, if you're just doing these side hustles because you want that, you know, you want that sweet bread, then, you know, it's gonna come easy at the end of the day, because a lot of things come easy. The same way you're so quick to think of yourself as a victim, it's, you know, it's just as easy to think of yourself as a business owner and, you know, go out and make a couple $100 a few days a week. But then, you know, you got to have that, like, that northern star, really. That's what you're aiming for. Because, you know, like Steven just said, you could go out and get that lawnmower, make those few $100, then, automatically have another idea. And then you jump on that. And then all that progress gets lost. And then you're starting over.
But once you, like, start getting, like, the feed for it, you're like, all right. Like, you're building a routine up, and then once the routine, you start doing it, it becomes a habit.
Right.
Okay, so then it's like, you start seeing all this money come in, you're like, it's a habit now. It's like, I'm going to keep doing it. Because it's just easy like that. You know, so you're just consecutively doing it done, and then you're like, dude, I don't ever want to give this up.
Yeah.
You know, because it's such a habit that you have, but it's also just like,
what's driving you.
Yeah, it's what's driving you. So.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of just a taste of what the mindset shift really is, because you know there's a lot more intricacies to it. It's like, you know, how you think about what your action, like the action at hand. You know, it's about how you actually, how your work ethic is. It's like, it's a lot of things that, going back to like the baby steps, it's like you got to learn what your actions are and what it's reaping you, and then you got to break that down and really observe yourself so that we can get into that mindset shift and like really break that down and explain to you guys, you know, it's more than just I'm not a victim or I am a victim. It's a lot more than that, but you know, that's kind of like a good starting point of what we're going to get into and what we're going to dive deep into.
Yeah, we're definitely going to keep talking about the mindset shift and everything else like that. We do have a couple of guests that are going to be coming on that have climbed that boulder and have taken the baby steps to get where they are, and I'm sure that they'll be happy to talk about all this, because they are a lot of people that realize, like, you know, like the one guy that's going to be coming on. Every time I see him, he's got the biggest smile on his face.
Right.
You know.
Right.
He's the happiest person in the room, and there's a reason where his business is at where it's at, is because he's spreading positivity. And it's the same thing with like every other business owner that I know that's really successful, is they're spreading that positivity and they're putting in the work.
Yep.
So
that's the other thing, putting in the work.
Yeah, I think this concludes episode 2 of Young Entrepreneurs. But yeah, so if you guys want to come on the show, let us know. Swipe up, message us.
You know, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Everything else like along those lines.
Whatever.
Yeah. We want to hear your feedback. We want to see how we can grow and make this podcast better and see how we can be more helpful. So
definitely, and we want to, you know, reach out to, you know, maybe people that aren't entrepreneurs yet, but want to be, you know, even that avenue. So yeah, just be sure to reach out to us. You know, I'm pretty sure both of our handles are going to be
down below in the link. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Cheers.